You know, I was always a big fan of Gina Carano when she fought back in the day. There's always something to be said when you see a woman who fights and she actually looks attractive. Like, I just think that's just, you know, like Destiny says all the time, she goes, man, that guy, he can fight, but he's ugly as fuck, right? But if he's attractive, he has a nice looking body, it's more appeasing to look. So be able to see her fight and then her fight Ronda Rousey.
I will tell you, I put these feelers out, and I have promoters contact me all the time to put out a thumbnail and make a video just to see if like an idea is a good one before they put their money behind it. I bombed. My audience did not care in the least that Ronda was fighting Gina. And I even took a second swing at the bat. I bombed at that one too. Like, it's kind of a tough sell. I don't really know what they're fighting for. And then Ronda thought it was a good idea to come out and reveal that she first went to Dana, the greatest mind in the sport, who said, I'm not interested. I don't know that that was a promotional piece. I felt like that's something that you should have kept quiet, that you went to your default partner as opposed to your first choice. The whole thing's, at this point, been a little bit weird.
12 years ago, 10 years ago, the UFC were trying to make this fight happen. It never kind of came to fruition because Gina Carano at that time did not want to fight at that time. She was doing action movies and things like that, but now she's ready. Of course, man, two attractive girls, an Olympic gold medalist, an Olympian, and Ronda Rousey, a TV star, a former Strikeforce champion, Gina Carano. Two beautiful girls that they get a chance to scrap, and there's a storyline there. Yeah, it's gonna make big headwaves, and it's gonna be a sold out show. And I do believe it could step on the toes of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. You know why? Because sex sells.
I think you are high right now.
Ronda and Gina, whoever thought about that, man? They're gonna be half naked. I guess I will be half naked. Might be make it a little better. I don't know, dude. Like, well, let's be honest. Ronda Rousey can fight. She's Olympian. Weird fucking Olympian. I mean, I think she lost a few fights to her ex, but Gina always sucked. I like Gina. She's like super conservative. She was hot. You know, I was like a kid when she fought. But yeah, Gina, she always kind of sucked. You know, she was just hot. And back then, like, women's MMA was like slightly worse than it is now, which is saying a lot.
There was a headline that came out today, and it was about Ronda and Gina are going to have to go the scrutiny of CTE and concussion protocol to a very high level. It's like, well, who's putting that out? I don't see how that's helpful. I don't see why we're advertising, that they're dinosaurs. I don't get that part of it.
Ronda Rousey's making her MMA debut. And I agree, Chael. I don't give a fuck. You basically said you don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck. I think it's weird.
I guarantee you'll be tuning in.
You're damn right. We tuned it in the next day to see what happened. Jokes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was weird. I was telling Tim, I'm like, dude, they did Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul on Netflix. Fucking mad. They're going backwards.
If the UFC would have put it on, it would have looked out of place. It would have looked forced onto a show, even on the White House show. It would have looked subpar on a UFC event right now, just purely based on their age and their time out of competition. I also don't really think you could have matched them against anybody else with the same kind of weight to their name and made it make sense. Like, you couldn't put either of them against a Cyborg or a Kayla or a Nunes or even a Holly Holm. I think Holly Holm would still be cleaning both of their clocks if they were matched up. And the other thing as well is, enough time has passed for a lot of people to know Ronda Rousey as a pro wrestler. Like, I've got an action figure on my wall somewhere of Ronda Rousey, but it's a WWE figure. It's not an MMA one. And there's going to be a lot of people watching this on Netflix wondering whether it's real or not. And you don't want that on a UFC card.
I actually want to watch that fight. Guys, everybody's complaining about the fight. Everybody's like, oh, this fight sucks. Are you going to tune in? It's free on Netflix. I'm watching it personally. So if you guys are going to tune in, why do you cry about it? I know all of you are going to tune in. All of you. Unless you're like, it's Saturday and you're like, you have some other engagement. But everybody, if they're sitting at home chilling, you're going to order pizza and you're going to watch the fights. And what you're going to watch? You're going to watch Gina Carano and you're going to watch Ronda Rousey. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gina Carano, she used to fight back in the day. She fought a long time ago in Strikeforce. She was good. She wasn't Ronda Rousey level. Now, she's bigger than Ronda Rousey and she's pretty. So her big thing was that she was pretty.
I don't know. Do you guys care about Gina and Ronda? No. No, nobody gives a fuck. Maybe if you put some oil on it, do some dollar bills, people might give a fuck. But really, like, not many people give a fuck about women's MMA in general. It's like it's like the WNBA. Everyone's like, oh, like, no one gives a fuck about women's sports. Like, who cares? Like, you're watching two fucking chicks. Like, you take the weakest, softest motherfucker here, and you guys would beat up Amanda Nunes. Like, fucking the fat guy in the Hawaiian shirt. No offense, dude, I like you, but like, you fuck up Amanda Nunes any day of the week.
I think they deserve it. I think they deserve that spotlight. They both are pioneers of the sport for women's MMA. They both did, great during their times, and it's kind of like a fun fight. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in it. I've seen some people really hate on it. I've seen like what Strickland said. Ronda Rousey was a beast. She crushed girls, and then she didn't finish off too strong. But we can't forget how great she was during her time, during her prime. And Gina Carano, the same thing. I don't know too much of like what Gina Carano really accomplished. She was in Strikeforce, I think.
Yeah, and those two don't have any kind of a grudge that I know about. And Ronda had made a comment. The way I interpreted it, she called Gina ahead of time and said, hey, I would come back only if it was for you. And then she went as far as to say that like she was trying to help Gina and odor from the past. I mean, almost like they're going out there in sportsmanship and it's friendly. And it's like, well, if we're not fighting for a title and we're not fighting for a ranking, what are we fighting for?
Mm-hmm. Ronda's already suggested it, and you take this with a grain of salt, but that this is not a one-off for her. I don't think she's coming back to have 20 more fights and get back in the thick of things. But if she beats Gina Carano, things go well. It wouldn't shock me if they found another thing to do with her. Maybe that's Amanda Serrano. Maybe they split boxing and MMA matches with Amanda Serrano. Like, they can be creative and have some things that will draw very casual interest. And I think that's okay. Not everybody needs to try and be going toe-to-toe with the UFC, especially because you can't. So why even try to do that?
I might not have as much collagen or cartilage as I had in the past, but I have more knowledge than I ever have. And I really feel like it's my technique and my wittiness inside the cage that always set me apart. It's why whenever I get my hands on anybody, they never get up again. And I've never been better in that way. And it's we had to kind of change training around, where instead of doing multiple trainings a day, I just do one marathon training beginning of the day and then spend the whole rest of the day doing recovery, because it's really hard warming up twice in a day when you've had as many athletic careers as myself.
The reality of this fight, Jed, is that Ronda might be damaged goods, both from the damage she's taken over the course of her career and certainly the way she handled not so much the loss of the home fight, but then the rebound against Nunes, where you're just getting there's no head movement and you're just reaching. This is like all the worst signs.
So I am not arguing that this fight should not have ever happened. I will not make that argument. Let's go for it. Let's watch it. Both of these women, A, didn't absorb a ton of damage in their career, and B, have had more than enough time to relax. And it's a level playing field. They're both old. They're not bringing in a Mike Tyson versus a 20-year-old. So with all of that being said, my only argument is I don't think it should have been in the UFC. I don't think the UFC fumbled the bag. Okay. I think the UFC, I think the UFC's too good for a fight like this. I think they're above a freak show fight like this.
Okay. Yeah, listen, I'm excited for both of those pioneers. I think that they're going to make a boatload of money. I think they deserve it based on everything they've done. And, would I have liked to seen it many, many years ago? Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see it when they were both in their prime or close to their prime. But am I going to watch it? Yeah, I think that's one of those fights I would put in the interesting bucket over there, where I'm definitely going to tune in to see it. Similar to how a lot of boxing matches got made back in the day, when I remember it's like Hearns and Leonard, when they were past their prime, I still wanted to see it. They're still highly skilled guys, a little bit older, but huge names. And, even if they put together something like, GSP and Anderson Silva, even in 2026, I'd be like, I want to see that, let's run it.
And it's I swear it was just 2 weeks ago, Ronda Rousey on a pod said, I'm not going to fight unless it's like $1 billion or something crazy, where she said, I'm not going to fight. But then they probably came to her. They probably came to her with a nice check. And I'm wondering if it's a 3-fight deal also or something like that. But then they offer Gina Carano. Gina Carano hasn't fought since 2009. She's a clean 43 years old. And then she probably liked that. She probably said no problem with that.
In the last time I spoke to Gina, we had a very long conversation. It was about an hour long. And I asked her about the rumors. There were rumors in 2014 that the UFC was trying to make this fight happen for International Fight Week. And so she said that the conversation was nice, cordial, the money was right, but she asked them to sit on it for about 6 months so she could start training, she could get a team together, she could get, the blood boiling again. And then there was a text message that was sent from Dana White to Gina Carano in which she said, at least this is what she told me, in the text message it read that Dana called her the B word and said that she was being a little bit too difficult. And she felt like that was a mistake of a text message, that was not supposed to be sent to her. And he said, no, I didn't. And so then she just called off all the talks, negotiations, and that was it. And she said she saw him a few years later and he did actually profusely apologize for that. But that's how that ended. And so here we are, some 12 years later, and the fight is happening.
I love it. They're still young enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 42, 39.
Yeah, and you talk about, neither took damage. I'm saying, I know Ronda's been doing the wrestling, which could be damage on you, but as far as blows to the head and stuff, they're coming off the couch fresh. They got to get in shape. Gina hasn't fought forever, but it's not like you don't know how to fight.
Right.
You got to just knock the rust off.
Right.
So, I just seen that. I don't know. I seen it on Instagram. My buddy Chris Brennan, who was on here.
Yeah.
We had a great talk.
Yeah.
I seen him working with Gina Carano.
Oh, is he? Okay.
So stuff like that's a good sign for Gina.
Man, the entire culture is all things that happened 15 years ago, right? Like, we're not pumped about new and interesting things. The biggest fights in the world is Mike Tyson coming back. It's Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. I'm not opposed to this. I've come around to even thinking the fight itself will be quite fun.